And hit. All right, I'm on two different screens today. So hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining this week's Ask HR segment. Um, Not excited, but excited to talk about this topic this week, and I'll tell you why. First, if this is your first time watching, please, 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 if you, depending on where you're watching, make sure you subscribe, make sure you give me some likes, make sure you share this with someone. I guarantee you there's someone in your community that needs this information that I am going to share today. My name is Hennither Bianca Gant, and I have the privilege of being one of the HR experts at Career Image Solutions, where we provide job seekers with the careers of their dreams. And we also help companies hire, retain, and stay out of the courtroom through what we know in HR, human resources. Amen, somebody. All right. So with that said, if you all want any more information about the company, feel free to check us out, career-image.com, career-image.com, or email us if you are interested in any of our services at services@career-image.com. All right, let's get right into it, shall we? All right. So, I have been getting lots of, I need to get closer to y'all for this one. Okay. I've been getting lots of different questions about, and just people reaching out to me about getting laid off. Now, from my perspective, COVID-19 has definitely impacted our company. Okay. So let's not make any, try to sugarcoat that, because there were many of the companies that we service that were in fact non-essential. So they were impacted severely because of the laws that came about as a result of COVID-19. But in the same token, my team and I have been doing extensive research on the industries that have not been as affected. There are still some companies that are out here that are still hiring. There are lots of companies that are, and let me not say lots because I don't know what the statistics are. But I will say, like I said, in our research, what we found is that there are some companies that are still hiring. There are some companies that are still booming. I mean, federal agencies, federal government agencies, to local, to mom and pops, to your mid-sized companies. I've seen them still hire, right? And this is for blue collar as well as white collar positions. So we were trying to figure out what industries, again, just based off of our limited research, what industries seem to be impacted over others. And we're still conducting that research. But one thing that we do know is that there are a lot of companies that are categorized as non-essential, especially during COVID-19. So as a result, they have been forced to lay off their employees. So in my inbox, I have individuals that are blue collar, that are white collar, that are entry level, that are senior level, in my LinkedIn, in my Facebook, in my email, and just saying like, hey, I've been laid off. Let me know if you know of any other positions, things of that nature. And man, it's just a really tough time for a lot of people. And I will say this too, because I know that for those of you that are still employed, it might be hard for you to wrap your mind around. It just might be hard for you to wrap your mind around the significance and the severity of being laid off, especially if you've never been laid off. Of what that impacts how that impacts someone's livelihood, but number one, how it impacts just like their mindset, them psychologically, like, oh my gosh, I've been laid off, right? I remember the first time I was laid off. Actually, have I been laid off more than one time? No, I've only been laid off one time, and oh my gosh, it wasn't as devastating because I saw it coming, but it was. No, I didn't see it coming. Let me rephrase that. I didn't see it coming. However, I was okay with it because I was ready for a change. That's the only, and plus I was young. I had no kids, no husband, so it was just like, Then I had a business, my business was really thriving at that time. So I didn't really mind. But what was really deep about that situation was that, man, I was part of putting the plan together of who was going to be laid off. How deep is that, right? So for those of you that, especially that are watching me, that are in HR, please, and hiring officials, management officials, please don't get too comfortable just because they invited you into the closed door room about who the possible layoffs might be. Do not think, and this is not to scare you, this is just to prepare you. Okay, come on, can somebody hashtag that? Right? This is not to scare you, but to prepare you. The fact in the fact that, like, listen, when it's time to make business moves, like, you end up sometimes just being a number on the paper. Like, listen, we need to cut back $200,000, and this chick is already making 160. So if we slash out one salary, all we got to do is stop using stop ordering ink for the one printer in the copy room, and there we go. We didn't save $200,000. Literally, that's what these discussions were like. I remember in the rooms that we were talking about who was bringing value, who wasn't bringing value, who could we afford to lose, who couldn't we afford to lose. So then after I helped create this plan, and then I got the notification, I was like, dang, your girl wasn't that valuable. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, it was a great lesson. I definitely think I provided value. In fact, I'm still great friends with my supervisor at that particular time. She calls me or contacts me, if not on a annual basis, like, hey, are you sure are you ready to leave entrepreneurship? Because I have a job for you. So we're really still close. But I do know, I know what these discussions are like. So here's the reason why I'm sharing that, because there are some tips that I want to give you. Now, I know that we're in a different type of, what's the word I'm looking for? We're in a different type of climate right now because of COVID-19. So I'm aware of that. But I think that these 7 tips through layoff when you are laid off, can definitely help you even amidst COVID-19. So let's talk about them, shall we? If you are watching the replay, please type in replay. If you have any questions as I go along, especially if you are not catching this live, feel free to ask any questions below. I posted a question on my Facebook page about how many people do you know of that have been laid off due to COVID-19? And there have been some people that have responded like, hey, I know, and mostly everybody that responded said that they knew someone. There were like 2 people that said they didn't know anyone. So again, I know that this is definitely an issue. And I know that this is something that's definitely happened. I mean, if you just look at the unemployment rates, everything that just kind of happened within the last 2 months has just been mind-boggling. We are now, for recruiters, for the recruitment professionals, if you are hiring, listen, you got your picking. Right? If you all know what I'm talking about, because probably December of last year, November of last year, applicants would say things like, oh, I have 2 other offers on the table and blah, 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 blah. That ain't, I'm not saying that that's not the case. I'm just saying it's just a different climate right now. All right. So I'm going to go through 7 tips, 7 tips. Okay. First tip, do not be afraid. Somebody repeat after me. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Fear not. Do not be afraid. I cannot stress this enough. There's so much information coming at you. Do not be afraid. I wanted to encourage you all with the scripture from Isaiah 41 verse 10. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. Your job is not your God. The government is not your God. Come on, somebody. Unemployment is not your job, right? He says, be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. There are some of you that have been feeling weak in this season, that have been feeling that you are just not clear. I want to encourage you that he will strengthen you. This is what his word says. He says in a next line, yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Ain't nothing that you're going through that God doesn't know about. All right. So Isaiah 41:10, may that encourage you. If you are feeling fearful, if you are feeling anxious about anything, please just kind of rest and meditate. But my first tip is do not be afraid, because we do some crazy things when we are afraid. We do some really crazy things as soon as oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? False evidence appearing real. That is fear. Do not be afraid. That is tip number 1. All right. Tip number 2. I told you all before, I've been laid off, and mind you, it was prior to me having a family. So I don't know if I would have the same reaction. Thank you for the hearts. I don't know if I would have the same reaction that I did and have I don't know. It just depends. I mean, because technically, I'm not laid off because I have my own business, so I haven't been laid off. But we've definitely lost some clients temporarily because of this. So, but the second tip that I have for you all is do not take it personal. I'm trying to tell you. Don't take it personal. I have come in contact with some people after all that I did for them, after blah, 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 blah. And I'm trying to tell you, like, the quicker that you get over the fact that it's not personal, the quicker you could get on with your life. I'm telling you, because usually, and again, from an HR perspective, usually the decision for laying off is usually based around compensation. That's usually how you make your determination initially. And then the second is there are a number of factors, but typically you look at compensation. So again, typically when you're doing a layoff, it's because there is some financial struggles, right? If most companies could keep all of their employees on board without having any customers, I don't know, maybe they would keep the staff. There are some companies that are trying to do that. They're trying to cut everything else before staff, which I think is really admirable. However, not all companies are in that type of financial position, right? So again, you do not want to take it personal, because again, they use compensation as one. So if you are a highly compensated employee, typically, again, this is not all the time, but typically, though, I guarantee you, your position has been looked at already, because you make a significant, and not, you might be like, well, I don't make a lot of money, but you might be towards the top tier of who makes the most money within your organization. Okay. Secondly, typically, again, this is not the case for everything, but typically they also look at who is non-essential, right? So those positions, like, hey, is this position, and I've done this before, I've talked about this before, is this position contributing to the bottom line? Can I still do business without this person existing in my organization? That is super huge, especially for my professionals that are in the services industry, right? For those individuals that are in the labor industry, the restaurant industry. No, I wouldn't say restaurant, but you want to, if your position is not necessarily, you're like, but after all that I did, I've been here for 15 years. I'm telling you that really, sometimes that goes into play, but just being at the table. If any of you all that are watching this live or watching the replay, if you all have ever had experience in having to lay people off, you know this to be true, right? If you're not looking at money, you're looking at, hey, is this person replaceable? Can we hire somebody at a lower rate, right? This person's being here, blah, 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 but what is really their value, right? And then thirdly, they're usually looking at the lowest hanging fruit, right? So those individuals that may not have necessarily been with the company for a long time. Hey, everybody. They may not have necessarily been with the organization for a long time, or they have an entry-level position, right? And again, kind of going back to non-essential, that that position isn't necessarily, it's not that, again, not taking it personal. It's not like sometimes, it's not all the time that a company does not like you or that someone doesn't like you. Sometimes that is the case, don't get me wrong. But most, if somebody's really making a business decision, you're looking at, you know what, is this position really, is this really providing, you know, X amount of dollars, or are we just is this an expense or is this an investment? And whenever you are working, you want to show that you are an investment. Anywho, that's my soapbox there. So that's tip number 2. Don't take it personal, because usually it's a business decision. All right. Tip number 3, and if you have any questions, feel free. Tip number 3, you got to know the difference. Some people tell me that they're laid off, but in actuality, they've really been furloughed. Some people have been furloughed, and then, you know, so, you know, they're using words interchangeably. And there are companies that are using the combination approach that are, you know, they, anyway, you'll see what I mean in just a second. So if you were laid off, it usually means that there is a break in employment. I'm looking over here because I'm looking at my notes. I want to make sure y'all get all this goody free 99 information. All right, so if you were laid off, there is a indefinite break of employment. What that means is that nobody promised you that you coming back. They say, listen, we don't have any money to pay you. We're sorry, but we're going to have to let you go. Right? It wasn't necessarily based off of your performance. It wasn't necessarily based off because you were a horrible person or anything like that. It was like, hey, it's our fault, not your fault. Okay? We're going to have to let you go. And here, by the way, here's your letter so you can go ahead and file for unemployment. That's how you can really kind of tell, like, if it's legit a laid off. Like, because most companies should know that if you lay somebody off, they're entitled to unemployment, right? Just depending on your states, because these states are getting weird right now. Anyway, so that's laying off. Furlough, if you're furloughed, usually the company or hiring official says, they say things like, we might have to lay you off, we might have to let you go for a period of time. Or instead of you working for 40 hours a week, we need you to cut your hours back down to 15, right? Or just there's so many different options. And then some companies might say, hey, you can't don't come to work for a period of time. You know, don't come to work for 3 months, and then we'll figure it out there. So it's kind of like a temporary layoff, but it's still a furlough. You know, so again, it's still a furlough, but again, people use it interchangeably, and you just need to know the difference. You need to know if you were laid off. You need to know versus furloughed. That's really key, especially once you start filing for unemployment. And I know if you are watching this and if you filed for unemployment and if you received unemployment, let me know in the comments below. I've been getting some interesting reviews regarding people's processes on them filing for unemployment nationwide. So I would love to hear from you all to see if you all have filed for unemployment and if you have received your unemployment since you filed. If you could just let me know in the comments, or if you know someone that has filed and they received it, please let me know. All right, so that's tip number 3, know the difference. Tip number 4, be resume ready. Y'all know I was going to say that. Stop playing. Y'all knew I was going to say that, right? I hope so, if you've been watching me long enough. Be resume ready. Listen, here's the bottom line. Within COVID-19, there are so many changes. We don't know what's going to happen from week to week. I know that there are so many different states that are making decisions to open up their states based off of this reason. There are some industries that are already open for this reason, that reason. But I'm telling you that this is something that we've never seen before, right? And the bottom line is that we can try to play God all we want to, but let me tell you, COVID-19 don't care nothing about what no governor say. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know what's going to happen. So a governor or a law official, a piece of paper, a document might say, hey, listen, it's time for you to open up by May 1st. It's time for you to open up by June 25th. But you don't know if COVID-19 is ready to chill in June. You don't know if Uncle Rona ready to go away yet. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to make light of that at all, but I'm just saying you just have to be more reason why you just have to be ready. Because here's the reason why I'm saying that is because there are companies right now that are they're I was listening to Dave Ramsey. I love watching Dave Ramsey. I get a lot of good business ethical insights from him, from like running a company, not just being an entrepreneur, which I love. And one of the things that he shared is that he said that his company, and he was really transparent, he said, my company isn't doing bad, but we're not doing great, so we've kind of told our staff, like, we're all good right now, but we don't know where we're going to be in the next 2 months. And I'm telling you that even if your company is doing well at this particular moment, you don't know what's going to happen within the next 30 days. You don't know what has happened over the last 3 months that they're playing catch up with over the next 60 days. You understand what I'm saying? So you want to be resume ready. You want to be resume ready. And not just because of that, right? But you want to make sure that you are prepared if a position or an opportunity comes your way. It might even be internal, for goodness sakes. I was just part of a conference, shout out to With One Voice from my church, House of Worship. But there was an apostle there that said, our crisis is a terrible thing to waste. So I pray that while you all are still work, those of you that are still working, I pray that you all are providing value and rising up to the occasion, and not being that person that's over there, complaining with the rest of, I can't believe this is happening. I hope that's not you, because a crisis is truly a terrible thing to waste. Thank you, Apostle Celia, for sharing that nugget with me, right? So you want to be resume ready, here in and out of season. So when things are going good, get your resume ready. When things are going bad, get your resume ready. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of writing on the wall. Okay. And those of you that follow me that are also HR professionals, do not sit down and get comfortable. Get your resume ready. I'm just trying to, don't say that your girl Henny B didn't tell you. Get your resume ready. You don't ever want to be caught where there's an opportunity for you and you're not ready because you don't have a resume. What? And don't get me wrong, there are, people are moving towards like not using resumes, but it's not that common yet. Get your resume ready. All right. Your resume needs to be, and here's just a few things that I will talk about in what it means to have your resume ready. Thanks so much for the love. So it needs to be highlighted with your most recent accomplishments. Don't wait until something happens or you get mad or whatever, and you're trying to remember what you did. And again, if you've ever watched or attended any of my live workshops, that I always share, your resume is not just about what you did, but it's about what you accomplished and where you're trying to go. So while you might be having some of you that are working, you might be working from home or things of that nature, this is the perfect time to get your resume ready. Make sure that you're highlighting your accomplishments for your next move, not just where you are, for your next. It's all about where you are going next. Try to envision your resume like a passport. It is taking you somewhere. Somebody need to hashtag that, baby. Come on. I hope my husband is watching it, because I need to go back and watch that replay. Now that's a good nugget. Also, you want to make sure that you have your current dates, right? So you want to make sure that your dates are current, especially if you've been promoted within that position. You want to make sure that you highlight the positions that you had, the titles that you had, all that type of stuff. All right. And so that's tip number 4. Let me just do a quick recap, because this is a lot longer. This is a longer video than I usually do. But again, I thought that this was important for me to dialogue with you about, given the state of where we are. So again, the first tip was, do not be afraid, and go ahead and meditate on Isaiah 41:10 if you are afraid. Tip number 2 is, do not take it personal, right? Tip number 3 was knowing the difference. You got to know the difference. Were you laid off or were you furloughed? And then tip number 4 that I shared was, be resume ready. Be resume ready. Be resume ready. Be resume ready. All right. So I have 3 more tips that I want to share with you all. However, I think I'm going to pause on it today. I think I'm going to pause. Yes, I think I'm going to pause and do another video on the last 3 tips. So that way you all can truly digest what I'm saying, because these last 3 tips are practical, but if you don't do them, you are going to be really far behind. Really far. Now, I cannot see all of my comments here, but I'm going to go back and change that. But again, I want to make sure that you all kind of hone in on it, especially for those of you that are recently laid off. I pray that this was helpful to you. But I'm going to do another video that to go over the last 3 tips. So you want to make sure that you stay tuned for that. All right. So again, the first tip was do not be afraid. The second tip was don't take it personal. It's usually a business decision. So they're usually looking at how much you're getting paid. You know, are you an essential, non-essential employee? Are you a low-hanging fruit? Unfortunately, those are the individuals that usually go first, right? Then I talked about knowing the difference. Were you laid off or were you furloughed? That impacts how you can file for unemployment in most cases, in most states. And then be resume ready, right? I said to consider your resume like a passport. It is taking you somewhere. I'm telling you, I'm really feeling that one. I hope y'all feeling that one. My husband tells me I'm a little corny. I got to go check in on with my best friend and my husband to see if that was corny, or can I keep that as part of my training collection. All right, everybody. So listen, stay tuned for the last 3 tips on what to do when you are laid off. Please feel free to share this video with whoever you feel needs this information. And again, thank you all so much for watching. If you are interested in contacting our team, feel free to go to career-image.com or email us at services@career-image.com if you're interested in any of our services that we could offer you, whether you are a career professional or a company looking to hire, retain, and stay out of the courtroom. All right. So thank you again for watching. And until next time, don't forget to command your day.